Welcome to A European Life. I'm Ajay Goyal, your host, and I'm here with my well traveled global citizen, herself a migrant, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you are from Zurich, and today we are going to talk about your city in a European life, where we discuss which European cities are the best choices for international wanderers, the so called creative spirits, the digital nomads, who are not just interested in traveling as tourists, but are looking for a new home. They're looking for that European vibe, the European charm, the European lifestyle, which has inspired people for great creativity, inventions, innovations for centuries. So today we travel for a long stay, potentially, to Zurich, and we are going to rate different aspects of living and lifestyle in Switzerland in general, but in about Zurich in particular. Before we do that, a few words of introduction. My name is Ajay Goyal. I was born and raised in India. Till I was about 21, I had not traveled more than 200 miles from where I was born. And since then, I have traveled over 40 countries, 250 regions of the world. I have lived in 9 countries, and I have that travel bug. I can't really settle down anywhere. Yes, I do have a permanent home, but do I miss it when I'm traveling? No, I don't. Elizabeth, you also have been traveling. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your travel blog, most memorable journeys, and do you also have the travel bug?
Oh, so many questions. Yes, I definitely have the travel bug. Incurable, will never be healed. I wasn't born in Zurich. I'm not from Zurich. I am from Lucerne. I'm actually from a very small, tiny village in the Swiss mountains near Lucerne. I hated the place where I grew up because it was so boring. And the reason why I became a tour guide and I left is because I wanted to get away. I wanted to get away as far as possible. So, of course, now I look at Switzerland very differently. But at the time when I was young, I wanted to leave. And in the meantime, I have lived in many, many different countries. I was a tour guide for 11 years. I was a conference interpreter for 17 years. And my new home, my new adopted home is Cyprus, but I do go to Switzerland at least twice, sometimes 3, 4 times a year.
Did you live in Zurich?
I did, yes, I did live in Zurich, and I want to say something in this episode because today is the day after Tina Turner died, and she had lived in Zurich. And I used to work in a hotel where she used to sometimes stay, and I have seen her, and she is a wonderful, wonderful woman, and she really, really brought a lot of joy to this world. So no matter whenever anybody listens to this episode, it was recorded the day after Tina died.
Yes. And what an amazing gift to all humanity Tina Turner was. And for her to choose Zurich, full stop, it must be a great city. I have been to Zurich dozens of times. And thankfully, I have some friends there, so I never ever had to book a hotel. So I can always stay long term with friends and really enjoy the city because it tends to be a very expensive city. Switzerland is a very expensive country, and Zurich is one of the most expensive cities in the world. So when you travel back there, do you feel at home or do you feel like a traveler? And could you, after traveling all the world, could you go back and live in Zurich?
I love Switzerland and I really, really need to go regularly. I don't think that I would want to live there permanently, but then I don't think I would want to live anywhere permanently. So if I imagine my ideal situation would be living in Switzerland in the summer because I don't like it in Cyprus, it's too hot. and coming back here, I don't know, in October, and then leave again at the beginning of June when it gets hot. So I can live in Switzerland.
Miss
I
the
own a
skiing season. I mean, come on, Switzerland and not to stay,
well,
the
I
live
could
the
go for 2
winters.
weeks to ski, so I would find a way. That's true. You're right. I forgot about that. But
There
yes,
can be, we can find more excuses to go to Switzerland.
yes, I love
We will
skiing.
come to it. We'll
Yes,
come to
and
it. But
absolutely.
listen, we know Switzerland as a beautiful country of mountains and green pastures and wonderful nature with this highly developed infrastructures, trains that run up and down mountains and tunnels and passes. It's a highly sophisticated and a highly developed country. No wonder for such a small country, the GDP of almost $1 trillion, one of the highest per capita incomes in the world. It's a very wealthy country. But it's not just because of tourism or because of beautiful nature. I think very few people know that Switzerland is more than banks and mountains. That Switzerland is a very highly developed engineering, manufacturing, and industrial economy. And Zurich is the biggest city in Switzerland, and it is kind of the financial hub and heart of Switzerland. What is it that you like the most about Zurich? It is not in the mountains, it's kind of a valley. You have to travel a bit to get into the skiing resorts. So, why Zurich? Why not so many other mountain destinations? Why is Zurich so special?
Well, Zurich is very central and it has its own airport. And I think there's very few places in the world where you can just take the train or the tram, actually the tram, and you're at the airport in 10 minutes. And it's the lake. It's a beautifully located city. You can see the mountains on a good day all around. It's very, very beautiful, very picturesque. It's very clean, very organized. Everything is, there's a story. I want to tell a funny story. I don't know if you know, Ephraim Kishon is an Israeli writer. He writes short stories, and he wrote this story about buying a chocolate bar in Switzerland. And he opened it and he ate it and he enjoyed it and he loved it. And then he was holding this wrapper in his hand and he didn't know what he did, just didn't know what to do with it. He couldn't see a garbage can anywhere. He couldn't see any garbage anywhere. He didn't know what to do. So he ate it.
So he could not dare litter in
Yes.
Switzerland. I mean, it's just a wrapper, but
Yes, so
he,
that's what, yeah, and you were saying before, I mean, about engineering country. We make fantastic trains in Switzerland. We make fantastic elevators. When you walk around, I always pride myself. Anywhere in the world you walk, Schindler. They are not made in Zurich, but they are made near Lucerne. Schindler lifts are everywhere in the world, in the farthest part of China or I don't know, South America, everywhere. Lots of good stuff comes out of Switzerland.
oh yeah, it's a very highly scientifically and engineering terms developed country. I mean, imagine building those railways and railroads and tunnels 100 years ago or more than that. I mean, the kind of development Switzerland initiated and experienced 150 years ago, it was a pioneer in so many different engineering technologies, in construction, in building, but also in precision engineering, Swiss watches. I mean, it's what Switzerland is. It's one of the dozens of things that Switzerland is known for. Now, Switzerland and Zurich in particular, I remember about 15 years ago when these big global ratings started to come out. It was several years in a row rated as the best city on the planet to live. Would you agree with that characterization? When I went there, to me, it appeared a bit cold. People were not friendly. Everybody seemed very busy. It has its own culture. It may not be the most warm and welcoming culture in the world. But if we can look beyond that, what is it that makes Zurich so special that it would be called the greatest city in the world to live?
I don't know about the people. It's quite difficult for me to say because I am Swiss. So you see, I look at people a little different, but it's definitely true. The Swiss are not the most approachable people, and they're not the most welcoming. But the thing about it is that when you make a Swiss friend, you have a friend for life. It's not like shallow. It takes longer to make a friend in Switzerland, but I think it lasts. Then it's a good friendship. It's a bit like Swiss products. It's a quality friendship. But Zurich I think it's also the nearness of things. You don't have to commute 2 hours to go to work, depending on where you live. There is a lot of traffic like everywhere in the world, but it's definitely just very, very good life quality. And you are out of the town in a ski resort within an hour. You're in another town within an hour. You're in Germany within an hour. You're in Italy within 2.5 hours. So it's very, very good quality of life.
Yes, you can cycle, public transport is
Yes,
excellent, trams,
public transport
buses.
is fantastic. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. You can
Never
set,
board a
sorry,
tram or a train without a ticket, though. It's
sorry,
fantastic, it's expensive, but never ever break the law in Zurich. You're going to get caught.
never break the law anywhere.
Well, in some countries and cities, you can get away with not buying a ticket. I'm not
No,
I'm not encouraging that, but in Zurich, I'm strongly discouraging that. You don't want to do that.
no, they do check, and you can also. A funny thing is that you can set your watch by the departure of a Swiss train. If it's 8:22, it leaves at 8:22.
My last few experiences are delays, a lot of delays.
Well,
It does, I mean, it does say on the board, train delayed by 2 minutes, then another 3 minutes, then another 5 minutes. Of course, I mean, the system must be under a lot of pressure. Population has grown. So many people now are in the city. The population of Zurich area is now almost 1.5 million. It's certainly
yeah.
1.25 million. So all the infrastructure is under a lot of stress and pressure. But overall, yes. Coming back to cleanliness and beauty of the lake, it's called Zurich Sea, isn't it?
Zurich say yes.
Yeah. So you walk on the side of the lake, and you're almost as if you are on a seafront, a sea beach, and every inch of it is like a manicured Japanese garden. Every bench, every little hedge, uh, every little space with grass, every tree, everything is so well taken care of. It seems like architects have been at work how to create the most beautiful public space so people can interact with the nature by the lake and enjoy the views of the lake. And then there are a lot of swimming areas in the lake. People actually, this lake is perfectly swimmable. It's certainly one of the most well developed nature versus habitat interactions designed anywhere in the world. And that lake and how people can enjoy the lake, enjoy the area, speaks volumes about Swiss ingenuity, attention to detail, creativity, and also a sense of beauty. There is a lot of beauty in that city, isn't it?
There's a lot of beauty in the city, and there is a lot of history in the city because all these fountains and all these many even the train station is a historical monument, and the Bahnhofstrasse, the banks, the story of the banks. The biggest amount of gold in the world is underneath the Paradeplatz, the middle of Bahnhofstrasse. So many. There's this beautiful hill where you can go and look down on the other side of the Limmat. We have church tower with the biggest watch face in the world, I think, or in Europe. It's lots of history, lots of beauty, very, very beautifully looked after. Quality. It's taxpayers' money, and there is a lot of it.
Yeah, people work hard, earn a lot, pay a lot of taxes, but then those taxes are used for improvement of quality of life, and that's why it is such a great city. Let's talk a little bit about city's history, its culture, and its past, and let's learn it from our producer, Chiara. Chiara, take us to Zurich.
Zurich has a very long history that spans over centuries, and it left an indelible mark on European culture and heritage. Zurich history started as a city-state in the Roman Empire. It was a thriving and flourishing city-state and gained independence in 1351. In the 16th century, there was a Reformation era under the leadership of a man called Zwingli, and Switzerland became the center of the Protestant Reformation. In the 19th century, Switzerland became a cultural hub, and many renowned literary and intellectual figures came to Switzerland. Nowadays, Zurich is known throughout the whole world for being a financial hub and a global city, able to offer a truly cosmopolitan atmosphere.
Elizabeth, when people move to a new city, there is this, desire and yearning to make friends, communicate with people, um, hang out with people, spend nice weekends together. We don't just move to places for places. We move for that human touch that we might be missing. And then we want to be inspired not only by the culture of the place, history of the place, architecture of the place, but the living culture which lives in people. How do you break ice with a Swiss person? And obviously, Zurich is now such a cosmopolitan city. There are so many people from all over the world, from United States to India, from Japan and China to Russia, from all over Europe. Zurich is a very cosmopolitan city. But still, how do you break ice? How do you approach someone and kind of communicate with people?
I think one of the easiest way to make friends in Switzerland or in many places is to join some kind of course or some kind of there we have a thing in Switzerland, a very, very big supermarket chain and department store chain called Migros. And Migros offers courses, in language courses, learning how to make, I don't know, pottery courses, anything you can imagine. If you join
courses, by the way, cooking, culinary courses.
Yes, anything you can imagine. So if you're looking for people that are up your alley, join a course and you will come across people who are on the same wavelength, who like the same thing. Of course, there's different kinds. In today's world, you find somebody on the internet, you join a student group on Facebook or on Instagram. And, the University of Zurich and the ETH, the other university, they have people from all over the world. And, my kids have both, Natalie has studied in Lausanne, but my son has studied in Zurich. And people talk about prices, he stays in a WG, which is a place where many people live together. He pays 450 francs a month for his room.
That's not like a co-living. Is he sharing a room or he's sharing a big?
He's not sharing a room. He's not sharing but sharing a house.
So students, that's affordable. That's like very European affordable prices anywhere. Yeah.
Yes,
but you're right. I mean that's great advice, Elizabeth. That if you want to immerse in a city and get to know people, join a course. Yes. From my own experience, I always find friends very easily because I go to yoga classes. And Zurich,
because you like that. So you like people who like that.
Yes. And you spend 1.5 hours in a beautiful yoga class. You get to know the teacher, you get to know the fellow students. So yeah, do something that you love and you will find people with common tastes. Another thing is Zurich is, you'll be very surprised. It's almost Latino. It's a salsa city. There's salsa going on everywhere in the summer. It's also a tango city. You can join a tango club and you can go to milongas. So, yes, that's such a great advice that when you go to a city, don't expect that people will bump into you and become your friends. No, look for things that you love, go to some workshops and seminars and classes, and you are going to make a lot of friends. And in Zurich, people are always self developing. It's a multilingual city. Everyone speaks many languages. I don't know, how many languages do you speak, and how many of them are considered Swiss languages?
I speak 6 languages, and I speak the three of our national languages, which is French, German, and Italian. We have a fourth, which is Romansh, but I don't speak that. There's only about 40,000 people left in Switzerland who speak Romansh.
I have never found it difficult to be in Zurich just with my English. I don't speak a word of German language, but everyone speaks English. It's such a highly educated city. And like I said, there are so many foreigners and they all speak English with their own accents. But it's a great city to it's a huge melting pot, and everyone is brought together by English language. Let's talk a little bit about the art scene, the culture of Zurich. It is home to some beautiful museums and art galleries. What do you like to do? And you said you were born near Lucerne. Very few people know Lucerne, which is only about an hour away by train from Zurich, one of the greatest collections of Pablo Picasso
That's
are
right.
in a private collection in Lucerne. Tell us about the art scene, not just in Zurich, but around Zurich. Zug has a great art scene. Lucerne has a great art scene. Tell us about it.
I think we need Chiara, but I mean, when I go to Switzerland, I don't usually end up checking out art. I do sometimes. And the thing about the Picasso Museum, not many people know that. I am actually impressed that you know that, Ajay, because that is a secret. There is a lot of art in Zurich. There is the Kunsthaus. There are galleries. There are small exhibitions. Of course, there is a very beautiful new opera house. Lots of fantastic performances. In Zug, I have absolutely no idea because it's always like on the way between Zurich and Lucerne. We need Chiara for that. And Lucerne, I mean, what the thing that I like about Lucerne, and it is literally, even if you live in Zurich, you can go to the Lucerne Music Weeks, which are always at the end of August. And they have fantastic performances in Lucerne at the big new Kunsthaus, Kunst- and Kongresshaus in Lucerne. So yes, lots of things to do. But we need a list, which I don't know by heart.
Yeah, but could we say that Lucerne and Zug, they are kind of greater Zurich because you are literally 45, 50 minutes away,
I
aren't
wouldn't
you?
say that in front of somebody from Lucerne, but you've said it now, so
No, Lucerne is its own republic. I know
yes.
Switzerland is very federal, right? People are very proud of their canton, and every canton has its own very sovereign referendums about something. It's a very unique country in that sense. But before we get into
Absolutely.
that, and we'll talk a little bit about Switzerland, its very unique federal structure. Chiara, tell us about art culture in Zurich and in cantons near Zurich.
Zurich truly is a cultural hotspot in Switzerland. The art scene it's truly thriving. You can find so many cultural events throughout the whole year, a lot of galleries, museums, exhibitions. I made a list of 10 highlights that you can find in Zurich and near Zurich. The first one is the Kunsthaus. This is in Zurich and it's one of the most renowned art museums in Switzerland. It showcases a vast collection of Swiss and international art, including works by very famous artists such as Picasso, Monet, and Chagall. If you're keen on non-European art, such as Asian, African, or art from the Americas, you can go to Museum Riedberg. I'm sorry for my German pronunciation, it's not that good. But in this museum you can find a lot of foreign art. Then you have the Swiss National Museum. This museum offers an extensive exploration of Swiss cultural history through a wide range of different exhibitions. Migros doesn't only offer courses, it also has its own museum. This is a contemporary art museum in Zurich, and it focuses on presenting innovative and cutting-edge works by both national and international artists. This is Loewen-Braunkunst, and it's an art complex in Zurich, housing several contemporary art galleries and hosting various exhibitions and events. Then you also have Kunsthalle. This is a contemporary art institution, and it offers many exhibitions featuring both emerging and established artists. In Zurich, you can even take a boat tour on Lake Zurich to experience an exhibition on board, and this experience is known as Kunstboote. Near Zurich, you also have Art Basel, which is one of the most prominent contemporary art fairs around the world, and it takes place every year in Basel. You can catch a train and easily reach this city from Zurich. You could also head to Rapperswil-Jona, which is a city on Lake Zurich, which hosts several cultural events, including the Rapperswil Castle's art exhibitions and the annual Blues and Jazz Festival. And lastly, we have Winterthur, which is a city near Zurich, known for the photo museum, which is dedicated to photography exhibitions.
It's a very unique country in terms of its political structure and how the country is run. It does not have a national elected president or parliament the way we know democracies in much of Western Europe. It doesn't have a monarchy. It doesn't have a strong presidency like the United States. How does Switzerland function? I mean, it seems to be at once one country, but at the same time, it is so diverse.
It's complicated. We have a king, and his name is Roger Federer.
Oh, he's not king of Switzerland. He's king of the court
king of the
and
world.
hearts. He's king of the world. Wow. I mean, now you've taken two of my favorite names, Tina Turner and Roger Federer.
You see, and he actually nearly bought the house where she died in. He was her neighbor. So the Swiss political system is complicated. We have 26 cantons. Out of those, 2 are actually split in half cantons. Each canton has its own government, and each canton has its own court system. So you would actually first go to if you go to court, you first go to a district court, then you go to the court of the canton, and then if everything fails, you go to the High Court in Lausanne. The Swiss Federal High Court is in Lausanne stationed. Each canton has 2 persons who represent them in the Ständerat, which is like the House of Representatives, and then according to the number of population, in the Nationalrat, which is what's the other side of the House of Representatives?
It would be like a Senate.
Yes, exactly. So and they are, the capital of Switzerland is Bern. Many people think it's Zurich because it's the biggest city, but the capital is Bern, and that's where.
Don't say that to Bernese people. That's
that people think that Zurich. Yeah, you got it. So it's an interesting, very, very interesting, beautiful situation, and we can vote. We vote 4 times a year. Things are brought in front of the people, and people can decide on certain. If we don't like something, we collect signatures. We need 100,000 signatures, and then a law, for example, can be changed, or a new law can be introduced. And there is 3 or 4 cantons in Switzerland which still actually vote in person. They stand on a square on a Sunday and they put up their hands.
I lived for a few years in the southern part, in Montreux, and I learned a lot of amazing facts. One of them was that if you are a business person, you can actually go to the canton and you can negotiate your taxes. You can really talk about what you do, what you are bringing to the canton, what investment you're making, and then you can negotiate what tax you're going to pay. So, no surprise, so many rich people constantly relocate to Switzerland because it has at once high taxation, but at the same time, it is very fair and it is negotiable. But one of the things that you vote on, and I meant to ask you, I remember in Montreux, police came to my door at about 11 o'clock at night because some neighbor had called the police because we had flushed the toilet sometime after 10 p.m. Do people actually vote on these things? What is the last hour you can flush the toilet or make some noise? Or is it just one of those?
It's not a law. I don't think that there is a law. I think it's a matter of, for example, one thing that you don't do on a Sunday is drill a hole in your wall or hoover. You don't hoover on a Sunday. You don't do noisy work. And
you won't cough loud?
Well, it depends how thin the walls are. But generally, and I think, to be honest, I like that in Switzerland, the shops are closed on Sundays.
Yes.
Saturday evening at 5 o'clock, the shops close. And imagine the Swiss are all still alive. Nobody has died of hunger yet. Because if you want to shop, you shop before. You don't see, this is the thing that many people think it has to be open on Sunday. I see it here in Cyprus when there is a day when they know that the shop is closed, or maybe even 2 when it's Easter, they panic and they shop like crazy and you feel like, are they all going to die soon? Are they not going to have enough to eat because the shops will be closed for 2 days? I think it's all a matter of organization. And I love that about Switzerland. There is no talking about it. The shops are closed. There's very few at the train stations where they rip you off, which are open for those people who do have to shop on Sundays. Because
you're going to get ripped off anyway. I mean, at Zurich train station, you go and you get a small sandwich and it can set you back 12 euros. But yeah, I take your point that they have their off time and everything is off. Swiss take their Sundays very seriously,
yes.
But they also go out for nature walks, for the mountains, for cycling. And I think that is precious. It's very important. So in a way, these customs are meant to give people a work-life balance, that you don't just become a workaholic, that you have to enjoy the nature, you have to relax, you have to let go. You can't be obsessive, compulsive, either about work or about shopping. And I think nature is the greatest therapist out there. So if you're in Zurich, why would you go shopping? You would go to nature.
And it's really, really, I mean, I admire those people. I see these people, I don't know, they're 80 years old. They cycle, they hike, they go on hikes. They put me to shame. They walk 5-6 hours and they are really, really fit. And, the thing about the noise, just coming back to that, I think it's a little bit unfortunate. You do, of course, there are annoying people everywhere, but in general, it's really a kind of a matter of politeness. And what happened to you, maybe with the toilet flushing, that's extreme. That's an annoying person. So generally, people get by, unless, of course, you are really noisy. And if you are constantly noisy and really noisy, yes, then people will.
Somebody's going to complain. And that's for the better, because
yes,
you're choosing Zurich for that. You're choosing a lifestyle. A city is more than its streets and its buildings and its infrastructure, which is first class in Zurich. But actually what you're saying is, when you are going to Zurich and you're choosing Zurich, you're buying into a lifestyle. And that
Yes.
lifestyle is a harmony, peace and quiet.
Order.
Order. Okay, you call it order. I find it very harmonious. I find it delightful. I also like to have some space around me, and you're given that space as if it's your natural right, and it is respected. So it is that good thing about Switzerland. You say order. I might call it rule of law as well. People may not be the warmest when you come across them, but they will always be correct with you. They're always decent. I have never experienced any form of bigotry or discrimination anywhere in Switzerland. In the southern part, in the French part, some rudeness, maybe. In the Italian part, not even that. In the German part, never. So Zurich, it kind of symbolizes a very higher plane of living where we live and behave in a very civilized manner. What do you think of that? It's a civilized place.
Definitely, and everything has its place and everything is in order. And when you go, for example, and you register in a town, or when you go for your taxes or whatever you go for, you have to make your appointment. You have to be there on time, but you get it done. It has really, I had forgotten, but when both my kids went to study in Switzerland and I had to start some of these procedures again, it's so impressive. First of all, you can do most of it online in advance. And some of it you can even do completely online. You don't have to you just have to pay. That's the thing. But you have to pay. And I prefer to pay 20 francs for something that I can do in 2 minutes online than standing somewhere in a line for 2 hours or 3 hours and waste my precious time.
I know what you're talking about. We won't name names, but yes, I mean, a system that works, you pay 20 francs and get things done.
Yes.
Otherwise, even standing in a line doesn't work. You have to find that agent, pay 200 euros, and then maybe it will get done. And if they find something wrong in the application, then there will be extortion. So yeah, you're right. It's a very fair system. It works. Individual is treated with respect and dignity, and everybody's rights are honored and respected. And digitization, transparency, efficiency is the biggest expression of dignity towards a person. When nobody has to address you, look at you, judge you, measure you. So from that point of view, Zurich is just such a great city. And every part of Switzerland is.
Yes, and the smaller the place, the easier. When you go to because if you want to move to Zurich, for example, you may not want to live in the center because there is a lot of beautiful places around the center, which may have a different administration. And there it's even easier because it's a small place. They welcome you. They are nice. They are a little bit provincial. They love to speak English. So really no problem.
Yeah. And you can take that water bus on the Zurich Sea, on the lake, to travel to some of the suburbs. And I've seen a lot of people actually commute not by bus or tram. Certainly nobody commutes by car. A lot of people use public transport. Some people bike every morning, 45 minutes to an hour. But you can also take that boat and it operates all year round.
Yes. Yes, and there is a ferry across the Lake of Zurich. If you live on the one side of the lake and you go and work on the other side and you don't want to drive through the city, you take the ferry and you go across.
Wonderful. Chiara, tell us a little bit about the city, its infrastructure, its economy, its demographics, the kind of cold, hard facts about the city of Zurich.
Okay, so you asked for some hard facts on Zurich and I'm going to deliver. Zurich is known for being a city which offers very high standard of living, beautiful nature, and for being clean and safe. And it was awarded as the third most livable city in the world. The official name of Switzerland is the Swiss Confederation, and the capital is Bern, and there are 4 official languages: German, French, Italian, and Romance. The currency is the Swiss franc, and we need to remember that Switzerland is not a member of the European Union. Switzerland is almost 43,000 square kilometers big, and it's home to 8.5 million people. Zurich has a temperate continental climate. It's more mild than cold. In fact, in winter, temperatures only occasionally drop below 0. Zurich ranked 3rd in the Quality of Life Index 2022 by Internations. And if you enjoy keeping active, having an active lifestyle, then you're in luck, and Switzerland might be just for you, because Switzerland is the least busy European country. The Swiss love going outdoors and keeping themselves active. And maybe this is the reason why Swiss people are so happy. They ranked 8th in the World Happiness Report 2023. As if for the economy, Switzerland is a very wealthy country with a stable economy. The GDP in 2023 was 869.6 billion US dollars, and it is supposed to grow in the future. Life in Zurich is very expensive. In fact, it was ranked as the 2nd most expensive city in the world. And you can expect to pay between 2,500 to 4,500 francs for a month of living in Zurich. But actually, Zurich doesn't do so bad in the personal finance index. This means that if you work in Zurich, you probably are going to get an adequate income which allows you to live comfortably in the city. Lastly, the means of transportations in Zurich are known to be efficient, exceptionally well developed and reliable, and you can expect to pay around 4.8 francs for a single trip in the city area.
So, Elizabeth, you have an allegiance to Switzerland. You were born and raised not very far from Switzerland. Then, as a young person, you ran away because you wanted to experience the world. I traveled to Switzerland very soon after I really started traveling. And then I kept returning for business. But we will both agree that it is an absolutely fantastic city to live in if you can afford it. It's not a city for everyone. Most of the people who move to Zurich are expats. They are working for large corporations, large banks, in engineering firms. They are highly skilled professionals. So if you are a globe wanderer, if you are a digital nomad, you have to look and calculate very carefully the cost of living in Zurich. But other than that, this city is a 10 out of 10 for anyone looking to have a European life.
I agree. And cost of living is high. Yes, it's a decision to make. It's something that you know when you go and live in Switzerland, you know that it's expensive. But I also believe that you can learn to get by with less. You don't have to buy that sandwich at the train station. You can buy a bread and a packet of ham or whatever you put in there, or cheese, in one of the good supermarkets, and it is a fraction of that. I think it's also a little bit a matter of being innovative and creative, and that's the same everywhere. That's not just in Switzerland, but especially there.
And not wasteful, by the way. This is something I learned from the Swiss.
Yes.
And I was about to wind up, but I should tell you this story. So when I was operating the hotel, and a lot of people come for late breakfast, and infamously, and the hotel was in Cyprus, as you know, And some statistics came out that nearly 80% Cypriots don't eat breakfast. They start their day with a coffee and a cigarette. But when they come to a hotel, they come late for breakfast and they fill up the plate. And several times my staff would come to me, and many of them were from Eastern Europe and Balkans and pre-Baltic countries. And they would come with tears in their eyes saying, people are wasting a lot of food. They fill up their plate, they don't eat it, and they leave it there. So I thought, what would be a nice way to communicate with people that wasting food is not cool. You should not do that. And I remembered seeing a beautiful sign in a hotel somewhere in Switzerland about no food wastage. And it was given direct. It was put in a way like take only as much as you're going to eat and probably take a few more cells less. And they just completely discouraged any food wastage. So I took that sign and exactly copied with the name of the hotel, and it put it on my breakfast tables all around the restaurant and cut down food wastage. Switzerland is very conscientious in this way. Not only there is no littering, like you say, the Israeli author, he ate the chocolate wrapper, people just do not waste. And if you do not waste, you are being very conscientious and you're being very correct. And that's the Swiss way.
Yes, yes, and that's the thing. I think generally, and we talk about these things in every episode. I think if you know where you're going and you are aware where you're going, you accept the facts. Otherwise, don't go. And if you go to Switzerland and you go there consciously, you're going to have a wonderful time.
Yes, you go somewhere, be prepared to learn. If you're not going to learn, and if we are going to travel to these places with our egoistical notions that we are superior, we are better, and every place should just welcome us with open arms, then we are doing it all wrong. As a wanderer, as a globetrotter, as a traveler, be prepared to learn. And Switzerland has so much to teach us. So if we are prepared to learn, if we are prepared to observe, if we are prepared to embrace these beautiful, fine pieces of Swiss culture and Zurich life, then you're looking forward to a most wonderful experience and a European life in Zurich. So that's all from me in this episode. See you soon. Bye-bye.
I'm going to end this episode like Heidi in the train at the airport, where she says at the end, Auf Wiedersehen.